What is going on, dwellers? This is the Fallout Handbook coming at you with a brand new video. How's everyone doing today? Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. None of the gameplay that I'm going to be showing is my own. Comes from Maddie Plays, Oxhorn, Juicehead, all of the big YouTubers who were invited to the West Virginia early access testing. With that being said, if you are looking to play Fallout 76 and get access to the beta, if you'd like to click the link below, you can get yourself a copy today. It helps out the channel, and you can get yourself into the wasteland as soon as possible. So let's get right into the video, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see from the thumbnail and the title, I do have a bit of a new opinion on Fallout 76. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I have a very sort of positive look at Fallout 76. I've been very, optimistic about it. I've been very excited for it, and that hasn't changed. I'm still very much, ready to play it. I'm ready to go. But I'm going to jump right into the reason that you see the parentheses new in the title, and it's this. From what I've seen from the gameplay, from what I've seen from the early access that's been put out, this game is far too dependent on the multiplayer aspect. I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, duh, it's an online game, of course it's going to be like that. But hear me out. There are a lot of, single and solo players that are going to play this game. That's my plan, unless I can, find a group last minute. But with that being said, there's so much that is just so dependent on multiplayer. For example, the NPCs I saw were a bit overpowered if it was just you alone. The other thing, and this is the biggest thing that I noticed, is that the wasteland is really just so empty without having like a group there. It's so sort of boring, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's kind of depressing. It literally is just you if you don't have your group. And again, before anybody says, oh, duh, that's how it's supposed to be, it's not. I really think that there needs to be rebalancing. And speaking of that, it is just, kind of like a beta early access game, so I'm sure they will rebalance it. But it's kind of, sort of worrying. It's a bit of a concern for me because, I can enjoy a single-player game. I mean, I have been, of course. But obviously the main difference between this game and the other games is the lack of human NPCs. This entire game is told through the environment. The whole story it's all environmental, which is fine, but it really kind of puts a damper on things for solo players. And I don't want to hear people saying, well, if you don't have a squad, don't buy the game. Because, I mean, that's not exactly fair. I wouldn't agree to that statement. It is kind of worrying me, but at the same time, there's always the opportunity for you to kind of team up with strangers. That's always a thing. You could always, play through the game as a solo player, and then later on, maybe try to experience it with a group, maybe find some people. I mean, it's an online game, obviously, so it's kind of like, the way I see it is kind of like when you meet people in like a Call of Duty type lobby, something like that. Like maybe you'll bump into them and you'll be like, oh, this person's pretty cool, or maybe you're fighting a super mutant and you're really struggling, and then somebody comes along and saves the day. That's always something that could happen. So I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I still have a very optimistic view for the game, but it did kind of, decrease how, I guess happy I am about it. But with that being said, there were a couple of other things that I noticed, and the next one is VATS. VATS looked very, very iffy to me. To be entirely honest and to be entirely blunt, I was not a fan of VATS. I looked at it and immediately I was like, I'm never gonna use this. It's way too like fast paced, because VATS in this game is in real time. Because I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. If you were to use VATS and it was to like slow down the whole game for everyone, obviously that wouldn't make any sense. But because VATS has been such an integral part of the series, I mean, you have to include it. The problem is it's kind of like a contradictory game mechanic when it comes to like an online game, because like I said, you can't slow down the time, you can't stop time, so it's kind of I mean, I really don't think I'm going to use it. Basically how it works is, and I'm probably going to be showing footage, you have to like hip fire. Like you lock onto the target, and it still says your percentage of hitting them, but you just kind of hip fire them, and I don't know, I really didn't like it. But then again, I already don't really use VATS, so I think I'll be fine without it. My last sort of critique about this game, and I'm really not much of a critic about games, so I want that to be a disclaimer. My last sort of critique about it is the interfaces. When it comes to the interfaces, it's kind of a love-hate for me. They did a really good job cleaning it up in one sense, but they made it messy in another. So what I mean by that is, the text, the transitions, the organization, that's all been improved in my opinion. It just looks cleaner. It looks nicer. The fonts, the outlines, this and that. It looks a lot nicer. But in return for that, sort of the trade-off for that was it looks kind of cluttered. There's a lot on the screen at the same time, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's sort of like it's not a chaotic clutter. It's more of like a clean clutter, if that makes even any sense. It's kind of contradictory, but I'm sure you guys understand what I'm saying, and I'm sure you'll be seeing footage of what I mean. But yeah, I really didn't see anything else other than these things. Obviously, my main concern is how heavily dependent it is on the multiplayer aspect, which I understand it's an online game, but you do have to take into account the many solo players. Hopefully these problems will be fixed. I'm sure they will. They're getting a lot of feedback and all of that, so it's not too concerning just yet. I'd be more concerned if I saw it continue throughout the beta. But with that being said, I did see some really nice stuff, some nice additions to this game that we didn't see in Fallout 4. So basically the way I see it is, this really was just Fallout 4 online. I mean, it's the same game, really, which I'm okay with. I'm totally fine. It's not like this is meant to be like Fallout 5. This, to me, is kind of just like a thing to hold us over until Fallout 5. So I'm not upset about that. But what I did see is that they really learned from Fallout 4. They really sort of, they saw the mistakes that they made, and they fixed a lot of them. So for example, the attention to detail. I actually made an Instagram post recently talking about the Devil's Due quest from Fallout 4. It's the one that you go to the Museum of Witchcraft, and you see, the Death Claw, and like you have to sneak through this museum. Limbs are falling from the sky. You're like freaking out, But the point of that was the attention to detail. When you have quests like that, when you walk into a building and you're genuinely scared and you don't know what to expect, you don't know what's around the corner, that is beautiful. That is perfect, and that's exactly what I want to see in these games, and that's exactly what I'm seeing from Fallout 76. And you absolutely have to put that attention to detail, because there aren't any NPCs to tell the story. You have to learn everything from the terminals, from the bodies, from the furniture that's thrown over, from the paintings, from the notes that are left around. You have to. So this detail has been such a plus, such a great addition to the game, and I'm really looking forward to it. Just to give you an example, in the Maddie Plays video that you might be seeing on the screen here, he was talking about how he was walking around and he heard a scream, just this blood-curdling scream, and he's like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he's walking into this house, and like paintings are spinning around and all this crazy stuff's going on. And it turns out it was just a haunted house. Like, it was just like a real haunted house. And I was like, dude, that is, like, I love that. I love seeing that. That is wonderful. Other stuff, you'll see is the notes that are laying around. There's a lot more attention to detail in the terminal diaries, stuff like that. Bodies, like, are in a certain, like, form, and, it's really nice. I really like the attention to detail. I've said it 100 times. But with all of that out of the way, with all the sort of story details and aspects out of the way, I want to move on to sort of like graphics. The graphics very much still, for the most part, look like Fallout 4. They look like a cleaned up Fallout 4, but easily the biggest improvement was the lighting. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, the lighting is gorgeous. It's beautiful. You see it, coming down through the trees. You see it like blinding your character in a sense, like it's so nice. It looks beautiful. It really sort of gives you that like scenic background, stuff that you would see in like Skyrim, stuff like that. Stuff that you almost just want to like screenshot it and just put it as your background. I love it. I think it's beautiful. They did a wonderful job with that, and I hope to continue to see that in their later games. The last thing I wanted to comment on was sort of the mechanics of the game, the perk system, the death system, stuff like that. So from what I've been seeing, from what I've been hearing, death it's very bittersweet, because when you die, you don't like lose everything. Your game doesn't end, nothing like that. You essentially lose all of your junk. And at first you're like, oh dude, that's fine, I can find plenty, it's not a big deal. But junk is a lot more valuable in this game than it is in Fallout 4. And that says a lot, because junk was literally worthless in the previous games. It had worth in Fallout 4, now it's even more valuable in Fallout 76. So when you do die to another player, an NPC or whatever, and you do lose that junk, it's gonna hurt. You know, it's gonna hurt a little bit. I like that because there should be punishment for dying, like you should lose something. It's nice that you don't have to like start over, or there's no like, you know, experience like penalty or anything like that, so I'm happy about that. The next thing is building, the settlement building. I believe you can build anywhere with that little camp system, but with that, the quality of life fixes were just so nice. You know, everything snaps easier. You know, it was a lot of the stuff that I guess they just didn't pay attention to in Fallout 4. Like, if you go try to build something in Fallout 4, it's not the funnest thing in the world. You know, you can bump into a lot of issues, and that, you know, that just kind of puts a damper on things. You're almost just like, you know, I don't even want to build anymore. You know, so I'm really happy that they improved that. That's a huge fix when it comes to settlement building. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on was like the NPCs, you know, the new ones and the old ones. So we do have super mutants. That's, I mean, I'm sure some way the lore can explain it. I don't know, but they do seem to be a bit powerful, like a bit more powerful. That's fine. I would like them to be more powerful, just because, I mean, they're mutants. They're big guys. And if you do look into the lore, they're supposed to be strong people, or rather strong creatures, because of like the FEV and all of that mutates them. It's supposed to make them stronger. But the big sort of creature I want to touch on is the Scorched. It's the like semi-sentient ghouls who can still fire guns, but they're like, you know, they're pretty intimidating. I mean, you see a ghoul already and you're like, oh snap, like I don't want to mess with them. You see the Scorched, these like super deformed, burnt up, nasty ghouls, but they can shoot you now. You know, it's not like it's just like some raider. Like these are some creepy guys. So I'm really excited for that. I've seen what they can do. They're pretty strong, pretty intimidating. I'm definitely excited for that, and I'm definitely excited to hopefully do it with like a team. Because, you know, when you mix like a team like and some scary stuff in the game, it's just gonna be very fun. And the last thing I wanted to touch on was the perk system. The perk system, as we all know, is sort of like a card kind of system. Now you have like packs, you open them up, you get random cards. Some of them are rarer than others, some of them are better than others. I'm really kind of excited for that. You know, they did a really good job. It's very unique. It's very unique. I think you can put like 15 points on each like special skill or stat rather. So I mean, it looks pretty fun. You know, like charisma, you can share them with other people and all this stuff. There might be a trading system implemented where you could trade cards. I think that's a thing, but I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I mean, they really did a good job with that. I'm very content with it. So overall, I mean, the game looks great. You know, when I was talking about all of the sort of bad things per se, you know, they're not world changing. They're not cataclysmic. It's not gonna, you know, just make or break the game. But the little things here and there can sort of, you know, drive up or down your you know, sort of like excitement for the game. Overall, I'm still very excited for the game. Just like a little bit less now. But even still, I'm so hyped to make videos for it, and I really can't wait to get into a brand new Wasteland. So I hope you guys could have learned something from this video. I hope, you know, I didn't offend anybody, or, you know, I hope I wasn't too out of line or wrong about anything. I do love getting comments on these videos. You know, if you want to leave your feedback, if you want to leave your opinion on the game or my video or whatever, please do. I read all of the comments. I'm very excited for them. With that being said, don't forget to click the link down below in the description. If you enjoyed this video, you would probably enjoy my channel, so please make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, dwellers, keep wandering.